In this episode of the TOWTalk podcast, Neil and I have a lively interview with Don Kilcoyne, candidate for town council in the town of Warwick. You're not going to want to miss this. But before we get started, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and click on that little bell so you get notified when new videos drop. Also, leave us a comment. We love to hear from you. Without any further delay, let's get started. Hi guys, this is Denise. Welcome to the TOWTalk podcast. Neil and I have a great treat for you today. We are interviewing Don Kilcoyne. He is running for town of council in the other TOW, town of Warwick. So everybody, let's meet Don Kilcoyne. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so very much. It's nice to actually be chatting with you two instead of just listening to your podcast. It's nice to actually meet you.
So you've actually
So
watched
one day
us?
we'll do so in real time. Oh yeah, I have. And one day we will meet in person, but for now this is great.
Yeah, this is so great. It's convenient, especially because I know you have been running around campaigning with your campaign. You've been so busy.
Yeah, it's I was warned when they kind of brought me into this that summer was going to be given over to it, September, October. And now what so right now we're in the sprint, right?
Yes.
Today is 1 month, exactly 1 month from election day. So, my lovely bride says things like, "So, what is your schedule this week?" Oh, hon, it's every day.
It's
I'm
every
so
day.
sorry. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So were you told like I was? Oh, it's no time. No, nobody has to do anything. Everything is easy, right? Were you given that speech right at the beginning?
You have to meet a better class of people, my friend. No. My folks, I gotta tell you, in Warwick, when they reached out to me to do this, they said, by the way, this is it's gonna cost you this amount of time. It's gonna be this kind of commitment. They were really good about it, and
good for
they
you.
gave me every single opportunity to walk away, and I was just too dumb to not walk away. So, but I'm really glad I'm doing it. It's been a blast.
Yeah. Give us a little bit of your background. I know we talked the other day. It was very interesting.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I'm in marketing, but that's kind of my mortgage paying job, and I love it. I've done some really great campaigns for great causes. I helped New York City get thousands of people to quit smoking.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was such a great experience. We also did a ton of STI awareness campaigns for them. We did homelessness awareness campaigns. That was quite a few years ago, but it was wonderful. And it is probably the part of my job that prepared me most for this. But otherwise, like I do that. I do marketing for a living, but I've written a couple of novels, published a couple of novels. I teach theater. I used to run an improv training course for a local Ren fair.
Wow.
My wife and I both did stunt work. And people go, "How did you do all this?" And I say, "We don't have kids." So,
Let me tell you.
so we have the time.
Neither do I. My husband and I never had kids either. We tried. It didn't work. So.
Same,
There.
same. And we just basically said, well, then we focus all that passion and energy into something else, right? So.
That's the way to do it. For us, it's animals. We have a lot of animals. Neil knows this.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, my husband, he likes to take care of the ferals. We have a couple of feral colonies outside that he feeds. We fix them, take care of them. Many of them have come into the house. We have some cats. As Neil knows, and as I've mentioned here on this podcast, yeah, I know. Tell me about it. We have parrots, and I have 3 parrots behind me. Every now and then you'll hear Casey likes to play with his bell. You'll hear a bell ringing.
Okay.
He will
That's
grab
what
and
I'm
shake the
saying.
bell. That's just his alert, letting me know,
Or
what?
squawk.
Yeah, that green screen is in my way, Mom. I can't scream at you. But yes. So yeah, when when we're childless, we delve into our passions into other things.
Yeah.
But,
Exactly.
And I know you were mentioning that you did a lot with youth in the community.
Well, I've done a ton of theater development for like the Ren Fair, right over the hill from here in Tuxedo, for many years. And what we wind up running into there, and it's a great opportunity, is working with young actors who are really just starting out. And so I would train in improv. I would put together, some years we had as many as 200 people on the cast. And it would help them develop their characters and learn how to work together as a team. And I also have been brought in for a number of different groups to teach improv theater in a more formal setting. I worked down at the King Center, down in Wanacue. I've done some stuff for Creative Arts of the Hudson Valley. And that's all wonderful. I love doing that. The reason that that connects to politics, however, is that in the last couple of years, a lot of these kids, frankly, they're terrified. Um, you know that when you're involved in theater, you're going to wind up with a higher percentage of queer kids, of LGBTQ,
Absolutely.
some are trans kids, and they're really afraid for what's going to happen to them. And what I'm trying to tell them, I've been telling them for years, is do something. Write some postcards, work at the local polling space, get out there in the community, and you're going to find that there are people with a like mind. It's not a bunch of people
Yes.
who hate you. There's people who are willing to love you and want to work with you, but you have to put yourself out there. You have to reach. And so when the Dems reached out and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing this?" I had spent the last 3 years saying, "Hey, you guys should," and I said, "I have to walk the talk. I owe it to these
Yeah.
kids I've been talking to take the opportunity." Um, and it turns out I was kind of right that community builds courage.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
when you feel alone, the fear can really be very damaging. But when you surround yourself with people who believe the same thing you believe and want to support you, suddenly you go, "Oh, I'm not alone,
Right.
and I don't need to be afraid." So anyway, that's that story.
That's
And you went into politics? And you thought politics was that answer?
So
You thought politics was the way to get along with people? Really?
I gotta tell you, I
I'm
did not.
sorry. I had to say it.
I did not expect how great. And, you're going to think that they're actually slipping me money. They are not. They, I could not believe how great the Warwick team is. They're just so supportive. I really feel like I've found a tremendous new community of
But that's
again
the
like-minded people.
Democrats. You got to get
That's the
once you get
Democrats.
elected, then you have to work with Republicans.
So okay, let's talk about that.
yeah. This should be good.
So this is the framing that I'm always given is you have to work with them. You have to work with them. I get that. Now, have you ever seen the movie Watchmen? I'm getting real nerdy.
Oh
There's a moment
yes.
in the movie
Yes.
where one of the good guys is in prison and they say, "Oh, you're stuck in here with us." He goes, "Oh no, you're stuck in here with me." And I don't mean it to be threatening, but I want to reframe this. Yes, I have to work with them, and I will. I'm a professional. I've been working with people for 45 years.
Wow.
But let's reframe it and say they also need to work with me because those seats we're all running for, they don't belong to the Republicans. They belong to people of Warwick, right?
Exactly.
Have you asked them that question? Because I don't
I don't
think they
care.
don't think that way.
I don't
They
care.
don't think that way at
You know
all.
what? And I'm good with that. I'm totally good with that. My wife has this thing she keeps reminding me of that you can manifest what you want to see happen. And if they want to keep manifesting that those are their seats, God bless them, do your thing. I'm saying I know those seats belong to the people of Warwick. They happen to be warmed right now by a red butt, but this blue butt has just as much right to warm one of those seats and get work done for the other unheard people of Warwick. And we'll all work together. I mean, you guys, you're in business, right? You know, sometimes you have to work with people whose goals are not the same as yours.
Yeah.
And the trick, not the trick, the discipline is to find the compromise that lets you both win. If you're not both winning, someone didn't behave smart enough, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So that's the goal.
So,
So I'm sorry, I'm pontificating.
no,
I'm
no,
trying to
this is great.
so.
I love the listen. I love the theory. Listen. I lived it, so I can tell you it's great in theory. You know, in practice, it's a lot harder. I'll be the first one to tell you, it's a lot harder in practice.
I absolutely believe you. I hear you, and you have to understand that I absolutely resist with every fiber of my being the idea that I'm going to let that kind of advice stop me. I believe it. You are right, but I can't.
Right.
I can't tap the brakes because of that.
I
just
don't
need to know
think
it's
you
coming.
should.
We can't anymore.
Listen,
we
listen.
need positive people in there.
I don't think you should. I'm just saying it's the other way, right? So the idea is a lot of times, you know, Democrats take these seats, right? And I'm going to be honest with you because I've seen it happen a million times. Democrats take these seats, right? And it becomes, well, I'm in the minority, right? Because, you know, you serve on a town board. It's a 5-person board, you know, majority rules. You know, it's tough to, you know, when you're in the minority. I tell everybody it's difficult being in that situation, right? Because the idea is what do you speak up about, and what do you keep that friendly veneer, right? Right? Like we all want to portray that friendly veneer, right?
Yeah.
We all want to get along with the other side. We all, you know, what happens when that's not reciprocated, right? And it's just like a job interview, right? Like, so the job interview like question that I always give to people is I say, well, if you don't get along with somebody that you work with, okay, what do you do, right? Because now you have to, you know, give a working environment, right? A positive working environment. What do you do in those instances, right? How do you address that? How do you, you know, deal with that? And I think that that's really a relevant question today in politics.
Of course it is. Absolutely. And the fact that you're asking the question is the first step toward finding a way to work together. Acknowledging we don't get along, we don't see any common ground. I'm completely with you. In my history, my background in marketing, we deal with that all the time. In the advertising world, in the boutique advertising world, the hot shops where we're competing with each other, you are very often up against someone who's on your own team, but has an idea that needs to win for them to get the promotion, to get whatever. You're on the same team. And what we need to do is step back and go, okay, there is a common goal here, even if it's the smallest possible common goal. We both need to make Bob, the boss, or Wendy, you know, the creative director, look good. Good. Let's agree on that. We're going to go with that as our common goal and then build from there. But you have to find what is that seed that you can share and that you can say, hey, you know what? We both hate this thing. Your idea is terrible. My idea is terrible to you. But we both want this park to work. We both care that those kids have a good time, that they feel safe. So let's focus on that and yes and the hell out of each other from there on in.
Yeah.
So that's where the two backgrounds meld. It's finding agreement, finding common ground, and then agreeing to build on each other's ideas instead of tearing them down.
That's
so.
Speaking of your marketing background, you have a whole lot of entertaining ads. It's one of the, I mean, the best has to be the cardboard cutout. That was such a great ad. Maybe what I'll do is, if I can, I'll try to slip it in at this point. So I'll just say, hey, I'm going to go find the ad and I'm going to show it to you guys. And if I don't find the ad, it won't be here. But I'll tell you where to find it.
I can send it to you.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Just link it, and then what I can probably download. Oh, actually, yeah. If you could just send it, I'll download it, and I'll plug it in here because that is, or parts of it in here because it was so funny. But what made you come up with that? Such a clever ad with the.
so it's really an authentic experience of standing there at some of these events and going, I have Democrats, really well-intentioned colleagues saying, don't talk about the national stuff, the national stuff that turns off the locals. And like, one, that's not what I'm hearing in the door. When I knock on somebody's door, they're not saying the national stuff doesn't bother them. It's making them crazy. So, okay. But also, if I'm trying to talk about a local issue and I've got 9 people from the opposing committee posing with a cardboard cutout of a guy, it was blowing my mind. I'm like, don't tell me not to talk national issues when they're doing the maypole dance around a cardboard cutout of a 34-time felon. So let's, goose, gander, let's have a conversation here. I want everything to be local. Part of the thing is, when things are local, you have to say to yourself, would I hire somebody who recommended that I also hire a 34-time felon and an unrepentant rapist? Ugh, Bob may be doing a great job. But Bob's recommending Fred, and Fred's pretty sketchy. So I got to question Bob's judgment, right? Because, man, Fred's a problem. And yet he's always got this cardboard cutout of Fred. I'm worried about you, Bob. And it's that.
Denise, don't I say that all the time?
Yes, yes.
I say that all the time. I mean, these are real jobs, and you as the voter are the hiring manager.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
you have to interview these people. You have to interview your candidates, right? Like your officials, right? For what things you want. And listen, I'm one of those people, right? So totally don't get me wrong. I'm one of those people. I say keep it local, right? Because I can tell you that when I used to go to the door, right? It used to be you knock on the door. The first thing anybody ever wants to talk about is the last thing they saw on TV, which is usually something they saw off of Fox News,
All
right?
right.
And I just, my response was always, listen, I'm not running for that. I'm not running for a national office. I'm running for local town board. I'm about your roads, your water, your sewer, right? Like that's and inevitably you get information from people about what it is about their local community that they want improved, right? The pothole, on their corner, maybe the water isn't flowing at the rate that they want it to flow. Maybe they have low flow water for some reason. They don't like some of the notices that they're getting from the town. So, if we want to serve our constituents better, right, you have to go beyond what they just saw on TV.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But but the other side is posing with a cutout. So they're kind of, and that's going to raise a question no matter what side of the.
But that's the other side, right? The other side wants to not talk about local issues, right? Because
that's a good point.
Because if they were to talk about local issues and these local things, they would be in trouble because they don't have responses. They're absentee. They're doing whatever it is for themselves, blah blah blah, right? So the idea being that you're inquiring. I mean, this is where they live their lives. And
if I may pull that thread, I'm sorry.
I want you to.
Yeah, the local issues too. We have so many great things that we're seeing: ribbon cuttings, we're seeing viaducts put in, roads being worked on. That money has flowed into our area from Biden's infrastructure plan down through guys like Jim Skoufis into our towns. Well, guess what? That money's gone. Trump is now threatening to cut off our infrastructure. He's already done it with Jersey. So I have to ask them, you're standing here posing with all these great programs that the Dems financed up and down the line. What are you doing for me in January when the well is dry? So
Yeah.
my take is we need to be much more creative. We need to find ways to work with the state. We need to find ways to make sure that we're in tight communication with the Orange County legislature,
Yeah.
which of course also needs some more Democrats in it to make them more
Absolutely.
cooperative. And we have some really great ones running too. I'm so thrilled with some of these people.
Yes.
So so that's my thing is we need to build resilience into our budgets, resilience into our future planning because they've kind of I don't want to say they only, but they have to a great extent relied on federal money that right now is being turned off and turned on at the whim.
Yeah.
Not just federal money, right?
Mm-hmm.
County money, like sales tax money, like everything.
Yeah.
So building on the thread that you just did right there, we hear about federal programs going away, but when you're managing a local budget, one of the things that was recently discussed and is on the table for the future, all right, is these tax exempt bonds, right? So municipalities, one of the ways that they can raise money is through tax exempt bonds, right? What they were discussing in that big whatever the hell bill you want to call it, right? One of the things that was on the table was this idea that your municipal bonds would not be tax free. Okay, would not be these tax free, Series E bonds. That would be so devastating to your local municipalities. The ability to raise money really comes from taxing your constituents through property taxes, the sales tax sharing, right, the mortgage tax, right, and this idea that you get this other money, and that well could draw the ability to take out loans. If you can't take out a loan, that means all your money has to come from property taxes. Okay, and if that's on your table, like as Don pointed out, I'm going to point something out. What is the long-term financial plans of your local municipality? People should start asking that question. I don't know Warwick very well, so I can't give you a clue. But I can tell you the ones that I have experience with, okay, like years behind. Like if you're doing your financials from a year, 2 years ago, right, then that means that you're not doing any future planning because you can't get your shit together, right, and get last year's numbers right. As a local board member, that's got to be your focus, right? Is can we develop a long-term plan? In Chester, one of the things that we started doing is we started asking all the department heads, what is your long-term plan? What are you going to need not only next year, but the year after that, 5 years from now, right? Like, let's put a plan together to be able to buy those things. That's exactly what you're talking about. If that federal funding is gone or that state funding goes away, what's the plan?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, you got to be ready for that. So
and I can tell you nobody is.
Yeah. So let me just point out that I might not have ever mentioned here. Neil is works for the town of Chester. He's not a councilman there, but he's your comptroller there, right?
No more politics from that.
Yeah.
What?
your comptroller, is that?
Yeah, I'm the comptroller.
Okay.
There. Yes.
All right.
I'm in accounting.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question of, one of the things I enjoy about your podcast is that you're both very knowledgeable and you can pull threads, you can dig deep. And my question for you is, do you think the average citizen of your town can follow the kind of depth of knowledge that you're willing to share?
I hope so. Neil definitely has more of the town, having had those 8 years of experience on the board. So I often defer to him when more in-depth questions come. For me, I share my personal experience. I have a legal background, which I mentioned before. I started working in civil law, doing lawsuits and that kind of stuff. But I spent the last 19 years of my career working in New York City for a top 100 commercial law firm. I worked in commercial litigation. I handled big cases. I also worked for the head of the global litigation department, so I also handled employment issues, reviews. I saw salaries. I made arrangements for doing fundraising. A lot of the clients were big corporate clients. So like GE was a client, Wolters Kluwer was a client. So we would often, Disney was a client. So we would often arrange fundraising, like they would do fundraising charity events. So we would go by table, and then I'd have to go and call people. So I did stuff like that. But I also handled a lot of the litigation, discovery, that kind of stuff. And so for example, some of the podcasts that I watch are Legal AF. I watch Brian Tyler Cohen. So I love to get all the Democracy Docket is a big one. Mark Elias is like a hero for me, and all the amazing work that he's doing. By the way, anybody who's watching, please, you need to subscribe to these things, because getting the legal background, if you're watching this and you're concerned and of things that are happening, just know we are winning in the courts despite what Supreme Court is doing. Okay, Supreme Court is just, they are rendering backdoor decisions based on the procedure and not on the merits of the case. They're basically stalling. So shit can continue until they finally do get adjudicated, and they have to render a decision, especially for some of the more crazy stuff. And by the way, if you haven't heard, an appeals court knocked down Trump's birthright citizenship case. So, now I think it's still ongoing, but for now, it's been knocked down.
So I guess Don, you asked us a question, right? So I guess the question I have for you is, you're one of those people that watches us. I mean, what do you think? I mean, what could we obviously want to do better. We obviously are trying to bring things down to a local level so that people can understand us on a local level. Right?
Please understand.
I would love to hear how people are receiving us.
Please understand, I am not criticizing by asking that question.
No.
What I'm asking is, I believe we do need to elevate. Like when I listen to Legal AF, when I listen to Democracy Docket and Mark Elias, I love listening to him. But sometimes you have to go look some stuff up. And I find it's the same thing when I listen. I mean, it's fine. That's the way it should be. Right. We should be elevating the conversation, right? My question was more the things that you are concerned about, that are really engaged citizens are concerned about. Do we feel there are enough people out there who get it, who get those details, who understand this is what went wrong? Yeah. There was a phase that went wrong. And do they understand that? The reason I ask is because one of the things that I want to be able to do is add explainers to our local government. I think a lot of things that get announced at town board meetings are so esoteric that, we really need to just explain to our neighbors, this is what we're doing and why. And this is how the law works. Right. So this is why we had to do that.
You want to engage Don, with the community.
You know what? I'm really happy that you brought that up, and and I knew exactly where you're going with your question, right? That's why I asked it, because that is exactly why I got into politics. That is exactly why I, went to the town of Chester, right? Was this idea that only a small group of people is allowed to see numbers. The small group, I mean, your local town, there is a big difference between your local town government and a legislative body like the Assembly or the Senate, and then the executive branch, which is the governor's office, right? They are really, really distinct. And the idea is when you're in local government, you're running a small business, right? And in many cases, they may not be like you think of small business. You're not talking about your mom and pop shop that makes $300,000 a year, right? I mean, you're talking about a small business, a small municipality could have a budget of $22 million. Okay? Right? You're talking millions of dollars, and then you have to ask yourself, who are you putting in charge of that money? Yeah. Right? Because it's not, right? This isn't like, right, the money that is sitting there is your money, right? Like, that's what I'm trying to convey to people, right? Like it's your money sitting there, right? Like, so, I always go to, and Denise has heard me say this a long time, right? Look around at your neighbors. Look at what your neighbors spend money on, right? Look at how they invest in themselves, right?
Right.
Now, would you want those people, those neighbors, right, managing $22 million and managing your money, okay? And, I not for nothing, I love my neighbors. I get along with all my neighbors, right? 90% of the time, I'm going to say no. I don't want them going anywhere near my money, right?
That's having okay.
And after serving on a board for 8 years, right? Like that's the conclusion I come to is this is the board, the job of a board member is really just a fiduciary. You're managing money, right, of your that your neighbors are giving you. And I have really had a difficult time getting past the national politics. I've had a really difficult time, like, you can, and I don't like talking about my current job, but I'll bring it up, right? The budget that we did last year had more transparency than any budget that municipality has ever seen. Okay? And I'm not patting myself on the back when I say that. It just is, because I can tell you it wasn't a lot. Right? Like, I mean, right? Like, it was, I really thought it was the bare minimum, because of where we were. Like, we were trying to catch up 2 years, we were trying to, like, there was so many things going on, it just really was hard to, and this year, we're even in better shape. And I look at my municipality that I live in, okay, and I just got their budget, and it was like one column that just said, requested. Right? No historical data, no idea of what they're buying, no idea of who they're hiring, no clue of anything. Okay? And my feeling is that isn't the way it should be. That just isn't the way it should be. We should all, like, he who controls the money controls the power.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay? And the idea is you as an elected official, your job is to oversee that money, but the power belongs to the people who put you there.
Yeah.
Belongs to the voter.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that comes back to what you
That
said.
is what Don said. That is exactly what Don said from the very beginning, right? And it goes to all the questions I asked Don, right? Because that's my shibboleth test, right? Like the idea of, right? The idea of that are you in it for the right reasons, right? And you could tell that a guy like Don is in it for the right reasons because he said exactly that, right? The people that put him there, that's the people that he wants to represent. That's the people he wants to give power to. So that way, good things can start happening in his community.
So
Thank you.
Good job.
Good job.
Don.
So speaking of that, what for you is and after all this discussion, what for you is like your most important policy that you're trying to drive forward in your campaign?
Um, Things shift, right? Right now, what I am wrapping my brain around is that Warwick is one community. We, I've heard the phrase "redheaded stepchild" tossed around a lot because we're one town with hamlets and villages
Yes.
and this weird triptych Russian doll of villages inside the town. And we have an issue with people not feeling heard in their different locations, in their different towns. Like, I talk to people down in Greenwood Lake, in the village of Greenwood Lake, and they're like, why don't we get the respect that the village of Warwick gets? I don't know. I don't know. But you will from me. Florida, when I talk to someone in Florida and I mention Greenwood Lake, they go, oh, they feel like the redheaded stepchild too? You know, and so I don't think that we think of Warwick as one community that needs to move forward together and needs to have equitable business development,
Right.
that the PDR needs to be um, equitably shared with the entire town. Um, I don't like that we have some areas of Warwick that really seem to have been left behind.
Right.
We don't need to do that. We're a very successful town, and we
Yes.
can share that with all of it.
Yeah.
So that's where
It's
I am right now.
Yeah.
it's really tough when you have villages and towns. I'll be the first one to say it's really difficult when you have villages and towns
Mhm.
because you start getting into that double taxation and you start getting into and people feel the burn, because your taxes go up at your town level, the taxes go up at the village level,
Mhm.
your school taxes go up, you might be paying multiple library taxes, like
Yeah.
it becomes really difficult for people.
Yeah, and that is a very complex problem that people are sort of aware of. What they see every day is the bridge that didn't get fixed. When there are four bridges getting fixed elsewhere in town, why is our bridge still out? Why is the water so tasty over there, and why is it brown over here?
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. That they're not easy to fix either. There are reasons for everything, but we need to start making everybody feel appreciated as a community member. Now, that is across the board in Warwick. We also need vertically to make some of our citizens feel more welcome. We have a problem, as we do all over this area of New York State, where there are certain members of our community that are really not welcomed the way they should be.
Yes.
And I think making a statement of getting a blue shirt and turning that board a little more purple sends a message that we're not going to put up with that.
Right.
You know, um, I don't want to. That you understand what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I all I can do is give you my cautionary advice in the idea that and I've said this a few different times, and I think Denise has heard me say this. In Orange County is a very unique place, right? Unique in the fact that there are a lot of other places like it, but from the standpoint of a power structure,
Mhm.
right? You look at it as a pie, and this pie is controlled for the most part, right? 90% of the pie is controlled by one group of people,
Mhm.
and the 10% of the pie is controlled by another group of people. Okay, and the people who own the 90% aren't giving it up, and they're not giving it up without fight.
Mhm.
And you got to be willing. And the people who own the 10% got to stop fighting over that 10%, right? And they got to start saying, we got to fight for the rest.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to put it in terms of it's a fight, right? Or whatever, but because it shouldn't be a fight.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, when you have one group that has consolidated power to that extent. You got to be willing to make a stand.
Yeah.
I give Don credit because one of my favorite quotes is the enemy of good is not hatred, right? The enemy of good is doing nothing,
Right.
right? Is
That's a perfect
right?
statement.
Is this idea of just being ambivalent,
Yeah.
and Don standing up and showing us, right, that we can do that, right? That we don't need to be ambivalent to what's happening around us.
Yeah.
We can stand up, and hopefully, as more people like Don stand up, other people will stand up behind him
Yeah.
and
And
follow him.
we're seeing that. We're seeing that. As Don said
Yes.
earlier, we have a lot of bright young, and I've mentioned many times, bright young new candidates, with more fresh ideas, and that's what we need. And because, well, I'm going to be optimistic.
What choice do we have, right?
No,
To me,
exactly.
optimism is our only choice. Because to me, pessimism is surrender.
Good.
Um,
Yeah.
and my my I'm getting a tattoo. I am actually getting it. All my paintings say "Do not obey in advance,"
Yes.
and I think pessimism is obeying in advance. It's
Yeah.
letting them frame the argument, and I'm not
So
ready
what
to
are you
do.
getting as a tattoo? What's this tattoo you're getting?
Do not obey in advance.
Oh,
Uh,
that's like a
it's
team tattoo. We all got to get that.
Yeah, it's Tim Snyder's book on tyranny. First chapter, do not obey in advance.
Right.
It's what Disney did. It's what, how they got Jimmy Kimmel off the air, how they got Joy Reid off the air. They
Bunch of
they
lawyers.
obeyed.
Bunch of
Yep,
Jenner and
bunch
Block
of
and all those
lawyers gave
lawyers.
in. They obeyed in advance. And if you stand up, bullies sit down. They do.
Yes.
I'm 5'8" on a really good day with low gravity. I have dealt with bullies in my life, and they learned a lesson. It's like hit them. We're not going to go there. You get it.
Yes.
Do not obey in advance. Let the bully know that's not going to happen,
That's
and they'll go.
When you go get that tattoo, you let me know. I'll go there. I'll be there with you. I'll get one for
got
myself too.
You got
I'll
it.
join
that'll be on your. We'll put that on your butt.
Well, as long as the butt is on a town board seat, I'm all good.
That sounds great. Well, let me tell you, Don, this has been a pleasure meeting you and having you on the show. We should have you come on and have a spot with us. We all get along great here.
Don. So what's your final word to the voters?
Yes,
before
definitely.
we-
Well, first of all, how can they reach you?
finish?
How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, oh,
They
yeah.
can get Kilcoyneforwarwick.com. That's my website. On Facebook, you guys know, you've seen my stuff. I'm candidate Don Kilcoyne on Facebook. Um, I have a whole link tree thing with all my Instagrams and all, but really, if you find Facebook or the website, you're in good shape. Um, I have an Act Blue, but I got to be honest, collecting more money in October doesn't make any sense to me. Just come out and spread the word. Share socials. Let people know that we're out here fighting. Um, and my big message is that we have an election on November 4th. Now, the scariest thing that I have heard from any doorway that I've knocked on, the hundreds and hundreds of doorways, is not, "Oh, I'm a Trump supporter." The scariest thing is, we have an election November 4th? Yes, yes, we do. you know, and these are people who really want change. This is how you make change.
At
Get
the
out.
smallest level.
Yeah, show up and vote. That takes control. I don't want to get too much in because you asked for the last words. But when I was trying to get people to quit smoking, one thing we learned was you don't have to win every argument. You have to win enough arguments to make change.
Yeah.
We only need 4 or 5% of our neighbors to go to the polls with the right intention, and we win everything.
Yeah.
Just show up, and we win. That's it.
Show up for everything, not just your local town boards, your school boards. You'd be surprised. There are this November 4th, I believe I read somewhere across the country, 52,000 elections. These are all small towns,
Wow.
small boards. You'd be surprised. And for those of you who might be interested, you've been watching us and you hear all this political talk and run for something. There is actually a website called runforsomething.com or runforsomething.org. I don't know for sure, but I'll find it and I'll put it in the comments below. Definitely get out there and get your voice heard. This is the time to do it. So you start now, so you're ready for next year.
If you don't want to be involved.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the best way to get involved. So with that, thank you so much. Please follow Don.
Thanks, Don.
Don Kilcoyne for candidate for Town of Warwick. All right?
Thank you. Such a pleasure. You both are so good at what you do, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Don.
All right.
Have a great one.
All right. Take care.
Hey, everybody. So that was our interview with Don Kilcoyne. He's running for Town of Warwick Town Council. Right? You can find him on Facebook and Instagram. All right? If you're interested in helping out with his campaign, you could always DM us or go to one of his socials and DM him.
I'll put him in the comments below.
Sounds like a great guy. November 4th. Make sure you get out and vote. There'll be early voting 10 days prior to that. Or you can, or absentee ballots, I believe, have already been mailed. So please make sure you get out and vote November 4th. This is TOW Podcast, Town of Walk Hill Podcast, right? With
It's
Denise
the TOWTalk
and Neil.
podcast.
TOWTalk Podcast with Denise and Neil. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. It was a great interview, and peace out.
We have more content coming, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All right, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. So that was our interview with Don Kilcoyne, candidate for Town of Walk Hill Council.
Town of Warwick.
Town of Warwick. Oh my God, the wrong. Oh God, it's going to be.
Do you want to start over?
Yes.
Do we want to edit this to start over?
Oh, fuck it. Let's keep the bloopers. Bloopers are fun. Okay,
Who's
we'll
just
start over.